Hello, I'm Rod Elmore, and today we're going to take a look at the cosine law. It's a little bit more challenging looking than the sine law, but it's more of an arithmetic problem than it is anything else. And so here's our triangle. We have three sides of the triangle, and we know if we have three sides of a triangle, the triangle is fixed. So if it's fixed, we can find it. And the beauty of the sine and the cosine law is it works on any triangle. It doesn't have to be a right triangle. So all we have to do is take a look. I wrote down the cosine law here. And the key to remember in the cosine law is that side right there has to be opposite that angle. So those are the only other two things. These are the other two sides squared and then multiply the other two sides there. So all you got to do is make sure that you pick it out like that. So if we want angle D, then our A has to be right over here. And so the A would be the 8. And the D would be the angle would be, the angle A in the formula would be D, and the side A here would be our 8. So once we match those up, you don't have to worry. So I like to do it right away. So I'm going to put the 8 here, and the D down here. And now I don't have to worry about where I put the other two sides because it doesn't matter, since you could flip these around and you could flip multiplication around because they're both commutative. So now let's just plug in the 10 and the 12. So I'm going to go 10 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 10 times 12. So now all we got to do is an arithmetic problem and end up with what the cosine of angle D is equal to. So what we could do is we've got something plus something, subtract a whole big thing here. So let's subtract these two and put them over here. Now I don't like to monkey around doing the arithmetic till the end because we're using a calculator. So let's just subtract this from both sides. So we're going to end up with 8 squared minus 10 squared minus 12 squared. And now what's left on this side? This minus 2 times 10 times 12 times the cosine of angle D. So now let's see, how can you get the cosine by itself? Well, all this being multiplied times that. Now you could multiply this out, that's negative 240, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to divide both sides by this. In fact, I'll put that divide here. And then I'll divide this side by that. And only because it's kind of it's a little bit easier to pick your calculator up once. So now you're going to divide this into this because these cancel, and you're going to have what the cosine of angle D is in. Now you have to decide, do you want it in degrees or radians? And we're going to get it in degrees, so we have to check our calculator to make sure that's true. And then we just have to follow order of operations up here with our calculator. But that does that pretty nicely. So let's go over to the calculator and try this. We're going to first do the numerator, then we're going to divide it by the denominator, and will give us this number. So let's go over here to the calculator, turn it on. And so we're going to take all of this numerator, which is 8 squared, and you can use the squared feature, subtract 10 squared, subtract 12 squared. Now you got to think of order of operations. Did we really need any parentheses there? The calculator is going to square them and then subtract them. That's what we would do. So we do that, we get a negative 180. Now hit the divide sign. Now you're going to have to put these in parentheses. So now you're going to put it in parentheses and write down a negative, make sure it's a negative 2, times our 10, times our 12. And now it's going to do everything inside the parentheses first, and then it'll divide it into our answer from above. It's kind of handy about this. So we get 0.75. So once we get 0.75, that's what our cosine is equal to. So now we have to actually solve this for angle D, and if you actually wanted to do that, you would take the inverse cosine of both sides, so you end up with angle D equals the inverse cosine of 0.75. And then you put this in your calculator and you'll actually have angle D. So let's go back to the calculator, go to inverse cosine, put in 0.75, and we should get our angle, 41.4, and that sounds like pretty Pretty good way to do it. 41.4 degrees. Now, kind of an interesting thing to do is to find them all independently and add them up. But I'm not going to do that in the video. I'll let you do that. That's how you can find each and redo it for this one, redo it for this one. You'd have all three, and then you could add them up, and if they all add up to 180, you'd have it perfect. But I'll leave that up to you. You can follow this pattern. It's a straightforward way to find the angle. I think this is handier, although you could have gone to 64 minus 100 minus 144 and done that. But if these numbers are like 3.86 and so on, it's easier to save it all to the very end. And some books will even give you this formula like this, but I think that's silly. Just use this formula and your algebra skills, and it'll work out for you. So try that on your video homework, and thank you.